When I was walking one time with the president to go over to an event in the old executive office building, we get to the elevator and I said, "Mr. President, after you." And he said, "Oh, no, after you." And I said, "No, really, Mr. President, please, after you," because I needed to be the first one out of the elevator. It makes it a little easier to show him where to go. And he would say, "No, after you." And so finally the Secret Service would just say, "Just get in the elevator, it's okay," you know. And of course we were inside the executive office building, so there was very little threat to anything, but it made it awkward. He was such a gentleman, but we always did this dance of after you. And I really appreciated the fact that he thought of other people before himself, and that's just a tiny example of that. I think one of the things that stands out to me, that how that resonated around the world, was at his funeral. I had the honor of helping in Washington, D.C. put on the logistics for his funeral. And we were riding from the U.S. Capitol to National Cathedral for the service with the casket in the hearse. And I was in 2 cars behind the hearse. And as we drove by, I saw people, everybody saluting and standing at attention, paying their respects to our president. There was one specific man who really just choked me up completely. He was in a wheelchair, and he was a veteran. You could tell the way his wheelchair was adorned and a sign that he had, and he was obviously elderly, and he was standing in front of his wheelchair at attention as the motorcade went by. And that just, see, I'll get all teared up. I think it just demonstrates what kind of man President Reagan was to the world and how much we miss him. It probably was one of the single highest honors of my life to work for President and Mrs. Reagan. They embodied the concepts of civility that I write about today, and I actually talk a lot about them in that sense because they treated everybody with dignity and respect. As an individual, President Reagan was so careful. We hear stories of him returning things or calling people or making sure they got thanked for things, and that's just so amazingly gracious when, everybody will give him a buy on that because he's such an important person. He was such an important, busy guy, but he took the time to make sure that everybody was taken care of somehow.